he thinks he recognizes you, and here you are trying to buy dope in a house in the middle of the mountains, and you got a guy with a gun pointed at you and saying, "My brother says you're a cop." If I wasn't wired, it would have just been an embarrassment moment standing naked in the basement with two grown men. But I was wired, which changed everything considerably. And the chance comes up to infiltrate a portion of the Ku Klux Klan. By the time I got there, I was the musical entertainment for the night. We did sacrifices, drank goat's blood, but then I started gaining more trust, and we uncovered numerous murder plots. Hate begets hate. If the far left is doing hate, it's going to make the far right mad. Far right's going to want to retaliate, and it goes back and forth. We have to bring people towards the middle. We got to.
First of all, this is my voice. I'm Tim Green, and I have ALS. But this podcast isn't about ALS. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for me. I'm a father of 5, married for over 35 years, a New York Times best-selling author, an NFL first-round pick, and a practicing attorney. This is Nothing Left Unsaid, where my son Troy and I sit down with extraordinary people for raw, honest conversations about life, its toughest trials, and greatest triumphs. My voice in today's episode is powered by 11 Labs. Scott Payne, thanks so much for joining us today. You're a recently retired FBI agent who worked undercover for the majority of your 28-year career, infiltrating biker gangs, hate groups like the Aryan Brotherhood, the Ku Klux Klan, and most nefarious of all, a new domestic terrorist organization called the Base. It is a dangerous group that had training camps, weaponry, and hate-filled rhetoric, both racist and anti-Semitic. These people are hiding in plain sight and actively recruiting on the internet. Scott, after reading your book, I couldn't wait to get a chance to speak with you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You have written a book titled Codename Pale Horse: How I Went Undercover to Expose America's Nazis. It's really an excellent read, not solely because of this device, but it keeps you guessing and eager to know the resolution to the scene. What you do is you flash forward several times throughout the novel. I know it's not a novel, but it reads like one. And as you say in the book, truth is stranger than fiction. Why don't you tell the listeners how the book opens?
Sure. So the book, and I did kind of argue back and forth a little bit on the subtitle, because if you look at the title of the book and the subtitle, it kind of sounds like it's all going to be about white supremacy. But the book covers the bigger cases in my undercover career. So there's 2 years in a 1%er biker club. There's public corruption, murder for hire, you name it. It's kind of covers the gamut for what my skill set takes me to. But the bookends, if you will, of the book covers the group that you mentioned. It's called the Base, and they're pretty much defunct now. They're trying to grow it back, but they are what we call accelerationists. And just to give the listeners an idea of what that is, a lot of times when people hear white supremacy, they think of Ku Klux Klan, hoods and robes, or they think of standing on the corner with picket signs screaming racial stuff. That's not what this is. This is a group. This is a belief system where they do not believe there's a political solution to save the white race. They believe that society is either going to collapse on its own or from man-made events, and they want to speed that collapse up, hence called accelerationists. So we were getting all kinds of leads and request or whatever, even from our world working partners. Hey, there's a lot of activity online. There's this group, and looks like a lot of them are in America. So we start doing our own investigations, and I got picked to be the undercover. And originally, they were actively recruiting because a lot of these kids these days, or it can be adults really, are being radicalized online. That's in all extremist forms. The radical jihadists, they're radicalizing online. Black separatists, radicalizing online. And the same with the white supremacy that I infiltrated. So I got I answered the emails. They put an email on their like recruiting. Join the. I probably got it right there if I can show it up there at the top. Save your race, join the base. It's they put up flyers everywhere, and then you go by and you could scan the QR code. The QR code takes you right to a propaganda video to help recruit. But I answered, and after about a week or so of emails back and forth asking me a bunch of questions, I was instructed to download the app called Wire, similar to WhatsApp. You can talk and do phone calls on it. And I downloaded that, and then I got interviewed for probably about an hour and 15 minutes by 4 or 5 members of the base, to include the leader, asking me all kinds of stuff, vetting me. And I passed that. And then 24 hours later, they let me know, hey, we'd like to have you in the group. And of course, I said I'd like to be in the group. And then we get to the kind of where the book starts. I was going to go down to, since I said I was in Tennessee, the closest cell, Cell. I've got a redneck accent, but Cell. I know, right? Because they were like, you went to a sale. Like, what'd you buy? No, Cell. So, the closest sale to me was in Georgia. And they said, you'll be contacted by the leader of that sale. So I got contacted, and now I'm going down to Rome, Georgia to do the first face-to-face meet with members we didn't know of the base. And all we knew really was that we were meeting a guy who went by the moniker, the Militant Buddhist, TMB. They told me where to park. They told me to take pictures of stuff, send it to them, which means they're going to be watching me. So I get to Georgia, and I meet the cover team, because that part of the investigation is going to be investigated locally in the FBI Atlanta division. And they said, hey, man, do you mind if we put a GPS tracker on your truck? And I'm like, no, because, I mean, number one, they don't want to lose me. Number two, I don't want them to lose me because we don't even know where we're going. So I finally park. I send the picture. I say, here's where I'm at. And then 2 guys walk up to me. And it's our first meet. I mean, we already kind of know what we're getting into as far as ideology goes. So you figure you're going to get checked. So I step out of the vehicle. We do some real quick exchanges. Hello. Hey, are you White Warrior? Which I became Pale Horse later. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, hey, this is TMB and Pestilence. I'm like, cool. And they said, hey, put your phone in airplane mode. And he pulls out this wand that I'd never seen. It had lights all over it, like a triangle card. In the book, I even said, I thought it was like a Geiger counter. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that thing is. And so he wands me, no big deal. And then he starts walking down my truck. And as he's getting close to where they put the GPS tracker, this thing starts lighting up, and it's going, it's making noise. And I'm going, oh, I'm like, man, it's picking it up. And I even dropped my right leg back kind of nonchalantly, I hope, because I'm not trying to give away or telegraph that I may be getting ready to fight. I'm already looking at bodies, their composition, their clothing, to see if I see any guns, anything printing from inside that they might be trying to hide. I'm also looking for things that I may need to use if we break bad. So right when he's getting close, again, heart rate's going up. And right when he's getting close to it, the other guy says, do you think it could be the power lines? And he walked over because we were on a hill and the power lines were pretty low on the pole at that part. So when he walks over the power lines, it starts going nuts. And he's like, oh, man, it is the power line. So we hop in he's like, all right, follow us to another location. And I'm like, holy, I get in the truck. I'm driving. I'm trying to hide it because I don't know how many people are watching. So like if I take a sip of something to drink, really, I got my phone on and I'm going, can you guys hear me? Yeah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, hey, we need to cut this tracker off. Whatever they have is picking it up. And they just almost found it. And the case team and I are kind of not like angrily debating, but we're like, man, we don't know if we cut it off, we don't know if we can get it back on. And they're concerned for my safety and don't want to lose me. And I said, look, here's the thing. If you don't shut it off, this is probably going to be the quickest undercover, because as soon as we get to wherever we're going, I'm going to be like, well, I don't know what that is, and start running, but or fighting. So we get to the place, and thankfully the cover team was able to cut the device off, and I passed. But while I'm standing there getting wanded again, not knowing if it's going to go off or not, I'm standing there with my arms out because I'm getting searched, and it just starts pouring rain. I mean, just the bottom of the sky drops out, and I just giggle in my head because these are my stories, and this is what I end up with. I end up with people like this, and I'm like, of course, I'm in an abandoned plant parking lot where I don't know how many movies you've seen where people kill people there. Nobody's there. It's an abandoned plant, and then the bottom of the sky drops out, and I'm like, all right, that's thanks. But I passed. I lived to fight another day. But that's kind of where we start in the book, just to kind of get you in that mindset. And then the book ends with the base.
I got to ask you, the thought of them interviewing you is just, it's so funny to me. I'm picturing like a job interview. What kind of questions are they asking you, before they say you're in the group?
Similar to a job interview. You nailed it. What's your background? Now, of course, we're talking white supremacy. They also explained to me what they believe, what accelerationism is. They asked me if I'd read the book Siege, what literature I had read and I liked, how long have I been in the white supremacy movement, my background, height, weight, all that stuff, ethnicity, like legit. They want to know, what can you bring to the table? Because they're claiming that they're a survivalist training. But once you get in, you find out, yeah, they're training, but they're training for the acceleration of the collapse of society to create that racial war. But yeah, they asked me all kinds of stuff.
Is it something that could the average Joe, could I call them and trick my way in, or is it because you're trained, you were able to get through it?
It'd be the latter. Because
yeah, it sounded so like nonchalant, like, oh, I responded to a thing, they called me, I'm in. I'm like, how could that be?
They're grilling you, and also they tell me when we finish the call, at the end of the call, the leader of the group, Ronaldo Nazaro, says, "Hey, we like to give you a 24-hour wait period now, because now you've heard what we believe and what we're about, and we've had a chance to hear you. It'll give us time to talk about whether we want you or not. It'll give you time to think about, is this something you really want to do?" So yeah, and then I will say this, as far as during that case, the base got infiltrated and would get outed by a journalist or whatever. Not really deep undercover in there, but every time the base got infiltrated and outed in one way or another, or just infiltrated, their operational security got better and tighter. And they're like, how did we just get it? How did we just get infiltrated again? What can we do now to make it even harder for somebody like that to get in this group? So if you read in the book, there was a journalist in Canada. He did great. He did a little infiltration, was in the main chat group for about a week or so. And then he comes out and says, he does his big story up in Canada. But man, I would not suggest that for anybody, especially if you don't have training, especially if you don't have a cover team, especially if you're not in law enforcement, because what's going to happen if you get outed? It's just, it could get dangerous and get bad really, really fast.
Now I would like to go back to your childhood, as you do in the book. And I am curious, did you have any siblings?
No, which may explain a lot. Everybody goes, "Oh, he's an only child." I see it now. And I'm like, "Don't be judging me. Come on, give me a break." No, I was an only child. My parents did get divorced, and they each remarried, but I was already a teenager by then. So even if the other marriage had kids, I mean, we'd get to know each other, but it's not like we lived in the same household or anything. I grew up in a Christian family. Hardworking family. I had to, or even though I was an only child, I had to earn everything I got. And I say it in the book as well, but my dad had a landscaping company, and it was actually one of the three largest landscaping companies in Greenville, in the Green upstate area of South Carolina in those years. And my dad dropped out in the 10th grade. He didn't complete high school. But I grew up with it's instilled in me, but it's also my DNA as just a workaholic. And I remember being dropped off as I got older and stronger and bigger, the more adult jobs I would take at the landscaping company. and my dad would drop me, or I'd go with the crew. So here I am, a teenager, they're looking at me like, oh, you're daddy's boy. You're getting to be on you're going to be here and get to not even have to work that hard. But there I am, a teenager with grown men putting whiskey in their coffee and smoking filterless cigarettes. And my only thing I tried to do was just outwork them. Unless you want me to get into the high school stuff and all that. Musician, almost got expelled from school.
Why did you almost get expelled?
There was I was in a band, and our band was called Shade of Green, and we did keg parties all the time. And I was the singer. Sometimes I'd play guitar for that group, but I was the singer. And I played drums too, actually. But we did the talent show for high school, and my only stage presence was in front of drunk teenagers at a keg party. So we did the song "Hot for Teacher" by Van Halen, and I grabbed my crotch, not just grabbed it. I think I grabbed it a bunch, and I remember they shut the curtain on us, and the principal came to my mom. She's like, is this your son? She's like, yeah. She goes, did you see what he did? And my mom's like, yes, it was awesome. But yeah, she wanted to expel me. She goes, you should be expelled. And I'm like, I was just singing a song. I didn't know. I'm a kid. What do you mean to do? It's Van Halen.
It's awesome that your mom was supportive of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know you played football until college, but when did you start? Did you play any other sports, and did you have any aspirations to go pro? At 6 feet 4 inches tall, weighing 290 pounds, you must have been a candidate.
Yes. So I played a bunch of sports growing up, but mainly it was basketball, baseball, and football. And then when I got to high school, it was just football. And I did wrestle for a little while, not very little. But I played football, and coming out of college, I had aspirations. I kind of had 4 tracks coming out of college. I graduated with very good grades, and 4-year degree, majored in criminal justice, minor in psychology. But coming out of college as a musician in the band, we had been picked up not by a record company, but the studio that we recorded at wanted to put us under contract. So that's very small. I was a huge professional wrestling fan, and I had some opportunities maybe to go out of college into that. So you got music, you've got professional wrestling, and then I did get some scout combine letters from my days in college. But my last 2 years of college, I was kind of ebb and flow. I had some personal things going on. I needed some growing up to do, a little heartbreak, getting your girlfriend leaving you and all that stuff. But I majored in criminal justice, and I'm a realist. So even coming out of college, could I dream and say, man, I'd like to go try out for scout combine? Being transparent, I probably wouldn't have made it. But it was not just a scout combine for NFL. It was Canadian Football League, and I think it was a World League then as well, and arena football. But I chose law enforcement because I'm a realist. Even back then, even if you wanted to be a professional wrestler, if you weren't coming with a name, you got to do what some of the biggest names you may have ever heard of do, and they go work the circuit and go to different territories, because there was no WCW power plant. There was no WWE Performance Center back then.
It's funny. Our first episode on this podcast was Bill Goldberg.
Oh, yeah.
He was my dad's backup for the Falcons. My dad played all 8 years in the NFL for the Atlanta Falcons, and Goldberg was the backup DN, so they're friends.
Oh, yeah, boy. When he came in, I was a jack dude, man.
I loved WWE when I was younger. I loved it.
Yeah. I still do. It's recorded right now. I missed Monday night because I was traveling. So.
You keep up with it?
And tonight's SmackDown. Yeah, I do. I got friends. I've met and know AJ Styles. I was friends with Bray Wyatt. May he rest in peace. but when I'd actually texted Bray, I think like a week before he passed away, or 2 weeks before he passed away. And my mayor is Glenn Jacobs. My mayor's Kane.
That doesn't get any better than that.
And he's a friend, and he came to my retirement party and declared my retirement day Scott Payne Day in the county.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
When I stopped watching, it was Thursday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. So that's how long I've been out.
That's when it was recorded, like on Tuesday, I think, and they just played it. Yeah. It's good stuff. In another life.
Yeah. My roommate from college, I played football at UCF for a year and then at Syracuse. My roommate from college, he was at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando.
Yeah.
And his name was Von Wagner was his wrestling name.
I remember that. I remember seeing that somewhere, but yeah.
He just got he was in like that, what's that called? That division called like the lower
NXT.
Yeah. And he fought for the NXT belt a couple of times, but they never.
Well, that's why I know it. Yeah. That's why I know it.
Yeah.
You got in trouble quite a bit when you were a kid. Why do you think that was?
It's probably the same reason I get in trouble. I see my face getting red. It's probably the same reason I get in trouble as an adult. I'm not a smart man, you know. Let's just say, growing up, the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, I'd be like, "Get off! Let's go do the dirty stuff," you know. No, it's typical kid stuff. I would think. Well, maybe not, but I think I know where you're going with it. Over my law enforcement career, if I arrest somebody, for the most part, I sit down with them and I say, look, I'm not saying I disagree with what you did. I'm not even saying I think you're a bad person. I'm saying you're an adult and you chose to break the law and you got caught. So let's just start here. And then I point out to them, if we get to know each other a little bit, I go, I committed all kinds of crimes. I just didn't get caught. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that as like, look at me, I never got caught. I'm saying, had I been caught and charged, I would have never been able to be a law enforcement officer. You can't be a cop if you got a felon on your record. Oddly enough, though, you can be an elected sheriff. And I've seen that. I've seen that down on the border. The sheriff's a felon, can't even carry a weapon, but he's elected every year or every 4 years. I just think it was the 80s as a teenager, and we just get bored and do some mischievous stuff. But I do believe that worldliness, well, I don't believe it. I know it. That worldliness that I experienced and the things I did helped me later on in my FBI career, you know, and my undercover stuff. I've got friends, you know, you don't have to be like me. You can be an unbelievable undercover, but it depends on what you're trying to go into. If I was a clean cut, straight walking, chalk walking, clean as a whistle guy, I wouldn't have been able to go with the outlaws. I wouldn't have been able to hang out with a bunch of neo-Nazi white supremacists in the woods shooting guns. I don't think, me personally, I don't think I could have. So let's just say it was divine intervention and it was a plan.
Early training,
yeah. I was pre-gaming. I was tailgating, yeah.
When you said you were an only child, I was going to say you didn't get enough cops and robbers when you were younger, so you had to get it all in your adult years.
Apparently, I didn't get enough detention either. So that's what my friends tell me.
You knew the vice principal very well after a run-in. Please tell us the story about it and how that foretold of things to come.
Okay, so I will play off of that the story what I just said earlier about the talent show at school when I almost got expelled. That was the principal. The vice principal was a guy named Lloyd Walker, and for my first 2 years of high school, I'm not sure what it was. I'm sure it's all my fault. I'm sure it was me, but I just felt like, man, that guy didn't like me. He rode me like white on rice, man. I was like, you know, typical. I'm a teenage kid in the 80s. I'm like, but dude, I don't know what his problem is. You know, we're talking Breakfast Club years, you know? But when I almost got expelled, maybe that show was on a Friday night. So like, I guess Monday morning I got called into the vice principal's office, and it was Lloyd, and he called me in, and it was about the talent show. And he's like, I immediately just started, hey, I didn't do it. I don't know what they said. There's no way I grabbed my crotch that much. And man, he put in, for the listeners that don't even know what a VCR tape is, it's what we used to watch movies on. But he popped in the VCR tape and I'm watching me and I'm going, oh boy. I'm like, I am not only grabbing my crotch a couple of times, I'm like grabbing it every 15 seconds. And I'm like, oh. And I just started giggling because I'm like, that's bad. I have no rebuttal. I mean, what am I going to say? And then we start talking. I'm like, well, Michael Jackson grabs his crotch all the time. I was just trying to do anything to kind of, and before you know it, we were just laughing and cutting up. And from that moment on, we got along great my last 2 years. And something happened at one point. His house, and it wasn't just rolling it with toilet paper. It was spray painting, vandalism. I think they keyed his car, they spray painted his car, and there was some racial stuff on there. I should have probably pointed out that Lloyd was a black man. And I get called into Lloyd's office, and by this time we're getting along pretty good. So I was like, I didn't do anything to get in trouble. I wonder what he's doing. And he called me in and he said, did you hear about what happened? And I said, yeah, I mean, everybody has. I mean, for the listeners, there was no smartphones or nothing like that back then. It's just word of mouth. But it spread like wildfire. And I'd actually driven by his house and seen the damage because he didn't live far from where I lived. But Lloyd seemed to have picked up on something about me. In the 80s at high school, you had a smoking area. You had you still had your cliques, jocks. So you got the athletes. I'm in a band. I'm a musician. I had decent grades my last 2 years. I was in the beta class. It's not that I don't want to say I blended in, or I just was able to connect with all those groups. I could go in there and hang out, just being me, and love connecting with people, a people person, able to talk to people. And he asked me, he said, hey, would you mind trying to help me find out who did this? And I was like, absolutely. So when we were in the process of writing the book, somebody's like, when do you think the first time you went undercover was? Now, I didn't have a fake identity, but I'm literally going into those groups and it might be something as simple as, man, did you hear about what happened to Vice Principal Walker's house? And they're like, yeah, man. And you just kind of start filling the crowd. And I never got I don't think we ever got a confession from the guy, but there was one kid in particular that his complete body language would change from his baseline if we started talking about it. And he would like scoot away and look away and slide out the back door kind of thing. And I went back to Lloyd and I told him, I'm pretty sure it was him. And that was kind of my, if I look back at my history, I mean, I was always a people person. But yeah, he saw some things in me, and that right there ends up being a great trait to have, not only as an undercover, but as a law enforcement officer. You need to be able to talk to people and get information. So it's pretty prophetic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty. Maybe I could just, if I could find Lloyd, or I'll just be like, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for not kicking me out. Yeah.
Did you ever get the information? Like, did he ever say to you why he thought you could do that? Or do you think it's just?
No, he said it when he kind of brought me in. He's like, look, I watch you. I've been watching you, man. You can go, you hang out over here. You can talk to anybody in this school, any different clique, any different group. And I was wondering if maybe you'd try to help me figure out who did this. So yeah, he saw it. I didn't see it, but I was like, yeah. And now looking back, going through the process of writing the book, and going back through your life, good times and bad times, I'm looking at it and I'm going, holy cow, that was probably my first undercover. Like, really,
Yeah, it is. And there's no fake ID to burn if they catch you. You're going to be the narc.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, you're a snitch. You're a rat. I love watching these comments. People are like, I smell a rat. I'm going, I was a federal agent, a law enforcement officer, a peace. We're here to serve and protect, to maintain the peace. If you're not doing anything illegal, don't worry about it. What do you care? I'm not a rat. It's my job.
You picked up the guitar. Where did that come from? Also, did it ever come in handy when you were undercover?
Yes. So somewhere around 8th grade. I grew up in a musical family, and I basically inherited mine. I never really took lessons. And again, there was no, I'll say it for the listener, there was no YouTube, there was no musician, there was nothing you could, hey, a tutorial on how to do this solo for this song. But I started playing music probably around like 8th grade. And then, like I said, in high school, I got in a band, and we were relatively popular for the high school. And then I just, over the years, it's very comforting for me. Even when I get stressed now, I'll just come out. I'll come out here to the barn, and I got all my music equipment set up, and I'll just crank it up. But and I mean, I play at my church, and it's a pretty big one. But it's very comforting for me to sing and play. But so I do that, and as the years go on, if you keep sharpening yourself, you get better at your skill, and you get better and better and better. And I'm to a point to where I'm pretty dadgum comfortable. I'm playing and singing at a church I was at, and then a chance comes up to infiltrate a portion of the Ku Klux Klan. And they'd already the case team had an investigation going, and they wanted to try to introduce an undercover, and they picked me. And I called for this particular section of the outlaws, sorry, of the Ku Klux Klan. I think they called it the hotline. It was a Klan hotline. So I called the number, hey, white power, I don't know what he said. How you doing? Well, this is so-and-so with the United Klans over, okay, all right. But I'm talking to them for probably about 40 minutes because I'm trying to learn. I'm like, hey, they got a rally coming up. I said, yeah, I heard something about it. What is this? I'm an old biker. I mean, do you have like vendors? Is there alcohol? I mean, is it nothing, music? And he says, you know what, Scott, I ain't gonna lie to you. He said, I had a band lined up, and the singer just got put in jail, and I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. And that's when I said, did I tell you that I was a singer and a guitar player? And he said, no. And I said, well, how about this? I said, what kind of music you boys like? Oh, we like this and this. Of course, it's nothing. It's nothing that isn't white. It's all white, and I'm like, okay. And I said, well, hey, man, how about this? How about I bring my guitar and my PA system, and we meet, come by the car. I'll strum a couple of songs. If you like it, if you don't like it, no harm, no foul. I'll throw the guitar back in the car. If you like it, I'll play. And he's like, man, that's going to be awesome. So by the time I got there, I was the musical entertainment for the night.
What the heck?
I know, right? I had to take out all I'm like, should I sing white supremacist songs? And I'm like, that'd be, I don't know. I said, but I mean, I can stay country, I can do blues, but I was going through. It was before you get everything on your phone, but I had everything like printed out and in a binder. Well, that's where I kept stuff when I do a set or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, let me clean this thing up because I'm going to be going undercover. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take out Otis Redding, Hootie and the Blowfish, anything that's not white, like I'm like, nope. Too liberal, nope. There's black people in the band, nope. I'd take it out. Doobie Brothers, I mean, you can't even do that. And I remember sitting there being all relaxed. And I'm like, all right, okay, I feel good. Book's clean, because what if they check it? I'm like, okay, book's clean, I'm good. And then it hit me that Jimi Hendrix, I'm like, oh, he's not white. I ran back and I took Jimi Hendrix out. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, when they're deciding to, like, you're in the FBI, they're saying we need someone to go undercover. Is there a reason that you're getting picked for, KKK, like all these, a lot of, I guess, white supremacy things? Is there a specific training you do, or is it, you're a bigger guy and they're looking for like, what is it about that got you brought into that so many times?
You kind of make a name for yourself like you do in any profession. And if you're out there working, then you have a track record to show. But it really comes down to my skill set. If I say it jokingly a lot, look at me. The FBI did not send me on the Wall Street cases. I didn't get to go on the nice yachts overseas. If I was with the mafia crew, it's just because I was standing in the corner as muscle, just looking angry. But one of my buddies would joke. He'd say, my nickname was Big Country. I used to be bigger. I'm more medium now, but he goes, he's making a joke because we were doing a scenario or something, and I'm supposed to be muscle, and they're like, that dude does not sound like he's from the north. He sounds like a dadgum southern boy. He goes, oh yeah, that's big country. He's in accounts receivable. Like I'm going to collect the debt, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like your skill set and what threats are there. So it by that time, when the white supremacy stuff, it'd been going on, there were plenty of undercovers. There are guys and girls out there that have done way more undercover than me. They've done more harrowing things than me. And some of them don't want to talk. Some of them don't get the chance, but I'm just blessed to be here. But it kind of came down to my skill set. Because let's just say you don't see a lot of biker cases coming up. And besides, if you did 2 years in the Outlaws, what can you do after that in the 1%er biker world? Maybe you can do one that's an enemy of the Outlaws, but you can't do one that's friends because all the travel I did and the people I met, it could just be one meetup and somebody go, hey, that's a Fed. You know, so it's just not safe.
It seems like you're never really safe once you enter that world. Hey, I was reading about an elective course in college you took that changed your life. Is that true?
Yes. I'm very transparent. I went to college to give me 4 more years to figure out what I was going to do because I had no idea. I was just like, high school's over? What do I do now? And then I got a call from a coach. He calls me and he's like, hey, I heard you're a good football player. I said, from who? I said, how did you hear that? But I went to college and I love psychology. I love psychology because I'd seen my dad suffer Great Depression. I'd seen my mother suffer depression. I remember having some disagreements with what psychiatrists or psychologists told them to do in their time of need. And I was fascinated with, I was like, why? Why would you say that? So I was fascinated with that. So when I got to college, I was thinking I was going to major in psychology. It stayed the entire time, but I changed my major to like business. And then I was like, no, I changed it to like computers. That was before, it was an Apple computer, but it was like the old green DOS square letter. There's no Windows or anything like that. And then I took an elective for a criminal justice course. And I just remember hitting it. And I'm like, man, I'm really fascinated with this, the law and how it works and forensics and criminology. And then the more classes I took, I'm like, this is going to be my major. In the beginning, I thought I probably was only for like 2 weeks, but I was thinking I was going to be an attorney. And then I realized I wouldn't be a good one because if I was a defense attorney and you're my client and you do tell me that you did it, I'm probably just going to go up and tell the judge you did it, which is not going to bring me a lot of work. I'll be like, yeah, he's guilty. But they're like, whatever you do, do not get Scott for your defense attorney. And then I pictured if I was a prosecutor, I'd probably be like Sam Kinison grabbing them and going, say it, you did it, say it. And then I started looking into law enforcement because even in college, I started bouncing. And I was always kind of I always need to preface it because you don't want to come off as cocky. It's not that, but I've always kind of been a bully of bullies. Have I been a bully in my history on this planet? Yes. I'm not proud of it. It was very few and far between though. I tended to be more of the, it was really a shepherd mentality. It's the sheepdog. It's the livestock guardian dog. If I saw somebody who, I don't want to say they're weaker, but they're being picked on because this predator over here sees that person as a prey, then I might be the one to go check them.
Vigilante justice.
Something like that. That kind of pick on somebody your own size kind of thing.
The bug seems to be an understatement. Part of your job was blending in with the criminals, which you were great at. Part of the way you blended in was with your tattoos, so I have to ask, how young were you when you got your first? Do your tattoos tell any stories about your case? And what did your mom say?
Well, I've already told you my mom's pretty daggone cool, but she's like, that looks awesome. My dad, on the other hand, is like, what did you do to your body? I remember piercing my ear and hiding it. I thought I was hiding it because my parents had been divorced in the 80s. I pierced my ear. I pierced it crooked. I didn't even know what I was doing. It got infected. I remember my dad, we were eating at Pizza Hut, and my dad starts looking at my ear, and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of turning my head. He grabbed me by my ear and pulled me across the table. What did you do to your ear? Are you a drug dealer? I'm like, I got an earring. What is that? How did I become a drug dealer? But my first tattoo, I was already a cop. Was I a cop? Yeah, I was already a cop, and it was it was these theater masks right here. It's just the good times, bad times, laugh now, cry later. The cover of Theater of Pain, Motley Crue. But that was my first one. And you said something that a lot of people believe. None of these tattoos are for a case. None of them. Could it have helped me on some cases? Yeah, it may. But do I have to have them? No, I don't think so. It's like saying, there's a common joke, all guys that go to narcotics, as soon as you get out of uniform, you go to narcotics, you got to grow a goatee. I mean, that means you're undercover, and I'm like, I still laugh because if you saw me without facial hair, you would understand why I have it. I have a round face. It looks, and plus my lips look 10 times bigger when I don't have any facial hair. But this is me. In the roles that I did, I tried to stay pretty close to who I really am in real life because that's my personality. And generally speaking, if we're teaching or I'm trying to explain to you undercover stuff, if you are, in my opinion, and the way I was taught, if you are deep undercover for long periods of time and you're being something completely opposite or way away from what you really are, one or two things is usually going to happen. You're either going to slip up and get caught or you're going to become it. And neither one of those are good. So I was always Scott, the jovial guy, with the exception of if I was being hired to kill somebody, or I'm the guy that's providing you the bomb to go blow up a family or a gun to go shoot up the synagogue, then I didn't really need to build that much rapport, I don't think, because that's not who I'm pretending to be.
Did you ever have any close calls where you were slipping up or no?
Slipping up, not necessarily. They were more comical than scary. But getting caught, yeah, there's been several. But the funny one is if you're talking about humor, I was at a satanic concert festival. Not because being a Satanist is illegal, because it's not, and we're not investigating people because of their belief system. It just so happens that there was some targeted individuals who were accelerationist white supremacists that were going to be at the same thing. And it was a chance to cover and maybe bump. And there was some plans. I was kind of a backup undercover for that one. I was the backup plan if the first plan didn't work. But the first night I was there, it's just satanic bands from all over the world. And I'm just like, oof, I'm looking at all the Satan worshipers and I'm like, all right. And then I start talking to people working the crowd. So the next night I go back to night number 2 of the Festival of Hate, Festival of Death, Festival of Satanism. I go back and I'm talking to this girl that in this group that I'd seen the night before. And she starts telling me this horrific story of she'd been in an accident. And the reason she's walking with a cane or hurt right now is because they wouldn't give her physical therapy for like 3 months. And it was just horrific. And being rebuilt as many times as I have and surgeries and stuff, I'm like, there's no way they should have waited that long. But as she's telling me the story in a satanic concert festival, I felt so bad for her. I said, God bless you, or Satan or Odin or whatever. And I was like, dang, I let that slip, And then one of the other ones I remember is at that Klan rally. I'm playing, and I got my music set up, and I'm on whatever hour number 2 of songs, and they're pouring me some Jack and Cokes, and one of the guys, he's like a worker for the Klan. Maybe he was earning his stripes or whatever, but he refilled my drink, and he came over and he handed it to me. And I mean, I was on the border. I got plenty of Hispanic friends, and sometimes I speak Spanish, and I'm like, I just looked at him and I said, gracias, like that. And I went, I mean, gracias, they can't talk. And I was like trying to throw it off. I was like, oops, slipping up. But as far as almost getting caught, There's always danger, and you try to prepare for it, and prepare yourself for success, not failure. But I've been just doing street level buys in the mid '90s, and somebody's, you walk into the house and you know who you're going to buy the dope from because you've met them. But when you walk in the house, you see that guy's brother, and you're like, oh, I locked that guy up when I was in uniform. And he thinks he recognizes you, and here you are trying to buy dope in a house in the middle of the mountains, and you got a guy with a gun pointed at you and saying, my brother says you're a cop. And in your mind, you're saying your brother's right, but I'm not saying that out loud, and I'm trying to figure out how to get out of it. There's stuff like that. Almost finding the tracker on the truck with the base case. There's several things like that, but I think the biggest one that most people remember was I did 2 years in the Outlaws up in Massachusetts, and after a year and a half undercover of doing all kinds of criminal activity with them, we kind of upped the ante, and we upped the ante, and it was like we were going to be doing a drug deal, and they wanted to get to know my drug dealers, and they wanted to they were going to help protect when the shipment of dope went from one vehicle to another. They were going to help protect, make sure nobody ripped it off, and that was at a year and a half into the case. And when the night before the operation was supposed to happen, they called me over to the clubhouse, and I'm still gathering. I'm trying to gain evidence, gather evidence and collect it of criminal activity. If they're doing it, we're not putting words in your mouth. We're not entrapping you. You are already predicated. We know you deal dope, that kind of thing. We know you have broken into homes and attacked people and carjacked and all this stuff. But they called me to the clubhouse, and essentially what happened was they took me down into the basement, that's being generous. It was very, very tight, very, very small. And I couldn't stand up, even though I'm 6'4". I know that's kind of tall, but I couldn't stand up all the way. And I could probably touch the wall on both sides. And they took me down there and stripped me at gunpoint. And I was wired. I was wired to the hilt. So that's probably the closest that I can think of off the top of my head.
You got to finish that story.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, it wasn't fun. I laugh now. I was not laughing at that moment, I'll tell you. So they carry me down in there, and the guy that brings me down there is on the undercover side of the house. He's one of my closest friends, and he's the enforcer for that chapter. And he brings me down in there, and they tell me that I've already seen their weapons. I see a rope. I don't see plastic on the floor, and I forget sometimes that people don't know this world, because some people ask me, they go, I don't understand, what do you mean plastic? And I'm like, well, in the criminal underworld, if you walk into a room and the entire floor is covered with plastic and you're doing something nefarious, I mean, it's the totality of circumstances. It's not a good thing. If somebody's asking you to spread your own plastic out and to stand on it, that's not a good thing. That probably means you're getting ready to get killed. That means blood won't go anywhere and they can just wrap you up in plastic. So I didn't see plastic. But even if I wanted to fight my way out, I mean, I'm in the basement with 2 outlaws with guns. Upstairs is probably 10 more outlaws. The door is locked with a metal bar across it, dead bolted, all this stuff. So he tells me to write down my full name, my address, date of birth, phone, all that stuff, which he had my phone number. But and then he said, I need you to take off all your clothes. I need to check you, make sure you don't have a wire on. Again, if I wasn't wired, it would have just been an embarrassment moment standing naked in the basement with 2 grown men. But I was wired, which changed everything considerably. So I have an adrenaline dump. It's a normal reaction when it's an oh crap moment. And if you've been in a car wreck or anything that might be traumatic, especially for the first time, everything slows down. You get auditory exclusion, which means, for the listeners that don't know, that means it's like everything you hear is slowing down. It's in slow motion. You feel like you're underwater. Everything is going whoosh, whoosh. And if you heard it, my voice would probably sound like it's going slow. You get time dilation, which means when you're looking, everything's in clicks. click, like just frames. Your hamstrings get weak and rubbery. You can feel your heart beating throughout your entire body. And it feels like it's forever, but it's not. That's just your body going into fight or flight response mode. But when that happened, I forgot my middle name. And I couldn't write. I was sitting there going through my head going, what's my name? What's my name? And I'm going, Scott Calloway. And I'm like, Scott Joseph Calloway? And I'm like, nope, that was a middle name of another alias. And I finally remembered it. I write it down, and then I take off my shirts, jacket. I take my boots off, and then I drop my pants and underwear all the way down to my ankles. So from the ankles up, I'm naked. And they check me. And it seems like forever. I'm trying to talk because I'm trying to gather more intelligence. It's what we're kind of trained to do, not vapor lock. And the guy, he even tells me, who's supposed to be my friend, he's like, trust me, if somebody was accusing me of being a Fed, I'd probably smash them in the effing mouth. And I'm like, I'm not happy. And he said, well, I wouldn't be either. And then I think I'm done. And he kind of cracks a joke and giggles, and I kind of giggle. And then he grabs a piece of clothing that I had. And he starts going through it. And in that piece of clothing was a recording device. And this was around 2006, 2007. So the technology is way better now. So I don't feel like I'm not telling you what it was in, how it was hidden. I'm not giving away tradecraft. But let's just say that if the piece of equipment that I was using in 2007, if he would have kept going like this all over the clothing, he would have felt it. And he asked me, he said, as a joke, when he picked it up, he goes, hey, I'm not going to find anything in here I don't want to, right? Like some naked pictures of my old lady. And he kind of giggles, and my giggle is more like a, because I'm panicking, I'm not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, as he's doing it, you can hear, if you hear the recording or the video, you hear me go, and I don't even know I'm doing it because I'm sitting here watching this guy go through my clothing, and he missed it by like a hair. And for me and my belief system, it was divine intervention. But he missed it, and then he hands me my clothes back, and then the rest of the night I'm trying to fight off the adrenaline and being angry. But people always ask me, they're like, hey, what would you have said had he found it? And I only have two responses. And the first one would have been me being a jovial idiot like I am. I would have said, if he would have said, hey, what is this? I would have said, I don't know, some naked pictures of the old lady. Maybe buy me some time. The only other thing I had to say was, the gig is up. I'm an undercover FBI agent, and I can walk out of here and we can see each other in court, or all hell's going to break loose. But that kind of would have been a bluff on my part because, to my knowledge, every time I'd been in the clubhouse, my cover team could never really hear me. Whether it was the walls or whatever, they just couldn't hear me. And what I found out that night, at the end of the night, when I finally turned in my equipment at an undisclosed location, I'm meeting the cover team after I've said goodbye to all the targets. What I found out is that they had pulled close enough or whatever, and they were able to hear everything. And they had, when they knew I was in the basement getting stripped, they had radioed back to Boston, and everybody that was working that's still working and in that building working the shift that night were coming blue lights and sirens down to Taunton, Massachusetts, where I was at. And because of the two task force officers that started that shift, and them being so seasoned and being so good at what they do, and them knowing me at least for a year and a half and learning my baseline, and they listened. And even though you can clearly hear I was panicking, my voice is way higher, my throat's tighter. They were listening and waiting to see if they decided, hey, this is it, we got to go. And their plan was to drive into the wall that was beside the door because they knew the door was heavily fortified. And the one of the touching things about that whole thing is at that time of my life, I had bought an untraceable phone. They call them burner phones. It's pretty common now, but I had her a phone so I could call her from my undercover phone, because you don't want your undercover phone talking to, I don't know, anything like Scott Payne's phone or FBI for sure. So every night when I'd go home after being undercover, I don't care if it was 5 a.m, 7 a.m, I'd call her and I'd say, "Hey, it's me. Just want you to know I'm done. I'm going to the hotel. I'll call you after I wake up." Most of the time it was okay. Love you. Bye. Sometimes we'd talk. That night when I called my wife, the first thing she said was, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" And she said, "Well, I was driving at such and such time tonight. I was driving in McAllen, Texas. I was driving with our daughters in the car, and I got this overwhelming feeling. And I pulled over on the side of the road and started praying for you. And I looked at the times, and that's when I was in the basement getting stripped."
Wow. What the heck?
All right. Pretty wild
If
stuff.
if something when you're undercover like that, using that as an example, if he finds a recording device, I mean, how many minutes is it until help could be there? Like, are you on your own for 5 minutes, half
It
hour? Or,
depends. I mean, what if they couldn't have got through the door? It could have been 5 minutes or more. But here's what I'll tell you from a tactical standpoint. I can show you video after video where there's a SWAT team or a rescue team, quick response team, on the other side of an adjoining door of 2 hotel rooms. Bad guy comes in, gets 8 shots off before the team can even get the door open. So if the crap is going to hit the fan, you
yeah,
need to be prepared for it as an undercover. In other words, don't let your reasoning of, okay, I'll do it because there's 2 SWAT teams outside, because that's not a good enough reason. You need to be prepared if something bad's going to break, or something's going to break bad, and the crap's going to hit the fan, because chances are it's probably going to be on you. At least hang on until the team can get there, or the team's just going to be coming to avenge your death.
yeah. That's what I was thinking. If they had caught you, you have to fight those 2 guys and hope you win, and then hold the basement until help arrives. And what the heck?
If they don't shoot me and I don't die, yeah. But yeah, at that point you got to do something, right? But yeah, that was a pretty scary incident.
Yeah,
Changed a lot of things for me, but yeah, it clearly made my wife nervous. When I retired and she'd see me teach this block, it's the first time she'd ever seen it, and she sees a video or whatever, and man, she just starts crying.
I can only imagine how she felt. Going back to your childhood quickly, your father suffered from depression when you were just 12. Your parents started arguing a lot, which they'd never done before. You were 13 when they divorced, but they didn't fully understand mental health back then. Has your dad received treatment for his depression? How is he doing?
Yes, yes, he has, and he does well. He's got some medication. And it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're more depressed than others, but yeah, you are 100% correct. Back then, they did not have the tools that they do now, and yeah, he's doing great actually. So
I'm so glad he's doing better. You grew up in a strong Christian home, but at a low point during your parents' divorce, you briefly dabbled in satanic worship. Could you please tell us what happened to send you sprinting back to the Lord?
yes, I can. Again, writing this book. I say again. I apologize because you haven't heard it yet, but I'm telling you, which you've read it, so you saw this. But I was raised in a Christian home, and my parents never argued. And then that year before they got divorced, they argued all the time. Something I'd never seen, heard my entire life. Well, over the next several years, uh, I had this, I didn't realize it. This is me looking back now. I didn't realize that I kind of took on an I don't care attitude. Like, are you sure you're okay with us getting divorced? Yeah, I don't care. But that I don't care started carrying over into everything. And we're talking 80s. A friend of mine introduced me into some witchcraft stuff, and then it led into just Satan worshiping and pacts with the devil and all anything you could find reading wise on it. I was studying up on it. I back when you used to go rent movies at a movie place. Um, for the listeners that don't know, yes, that would have been a VCR tape. You walked in and rented them. Be kind and rewind when you return it. But I went to the horror section and I rented A to Z. I watched every gore, stupid, satanic movie I could find, and it led me down a dark path, and I was just doing cruel stuff. Like I'm not a big hunter. I will hunt. I can go hunting for sure, but during that time of my life, I was pretty daggum evil. I killed about anything that came into our yard, and I did it maliciously and out of spite and just hate. It got to the point to where it wouldn't be hard to figure out, because if you have adjoining neighbors with fences, all the birds and animals would go to their yards and stay out of mine. I think they told each other, don't go over there. But I started leading into some pretty sick stuff, which now that you got me connecting that with the ritual with the bass in my head now, maybe that's why I didn't like it so much. But here's what happened. I started going down a dark hole of that kind of belief. I remember having a vehicle. My first vehicle was a VW Beetle. I mean, oddly enough, small car, good headroom though. But the place in town in South Carolina that worked on the VWs was a Christian store. I mean, they proudly said they were a Christian auto repair store, and you walk in, it's Christian music, and just to be mean and evil, I would set a cassette or whatever to the part to where, in other words, when they cranked the car, it would be blaring and it would be on a certain part of that song. And it would be something pretty satanic and evil. And I was just in a bad spot. And I started doing these like demon voices, kind of like a Freddy Krueger meets something else thing. And I would reenact these scenes from some of these demonic possession movies. And I was losing my friends. Luckily, thankfully, and being blessed, that group of friends from high school, we are still all best friends. I missed last weekend because I had to travel, but everybody got together in South Carolina for March Madness, and I missed it. But these are all still my good friends. But I was losing those friends because of the way I was acting and the way I was treating people. And I was scaring people. And it got to a point one night we were at a party, just alcohol, nothing else, no psychedelics, no roofies in your drink, nothing like that. Nothing that would make you hallucinate is what I'm trying to get to. And I ended up crashing. I was in a bedroom. My buddy was with his girlfriend, and I was on the couch in front of the bed, and I was reenacting a scene from a movie. And it's basically a demon's trying to possess them, and they're fighting that demon. And you do the normal voice, no, 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 and you do the demon voice and all this stuff and back and forth, and it ends with the demon taking over the person and laughing like a demon. So I'm kind of playing that skit out live and reenacting it. And my good buddy Ricky was the one in the room. And when I'm laying on the couch facing the back of the couch. And as I play the whole scene out, and then I start laughing like the demon took over me, and I'm laughing like a demon with that voice, I roll over. And when I roll over to face away from the couch, what I saw was a red, watery image, and it was a demon. And it was looking at me, smiling, and with long fingers and giving me the like a come here finger, come on here, come here, and smiling. And I screamed, probably the highest pitched, loudest scream I've ever screamed. And from that couch to the light switch, I was as white as a sheet. I was pouring sweat and panting. Man, Ricky and his girlfriend at the time, they jump up and they're like, "What in the hell?" And Ricky looks at me and goes, "What is it?" And I looked at him, I said, "If I ever do that again, if I ever use that voice again, if I ever even come close to talking about this devil worshiping stuff, you have my permission to take a bat and crack me over the daggum head with it." And Ricky looked at me. It's like it wasn't even him. Everything just kind of went in the room, and he looked right at me and leaned in and he said, "I told you, didn't I?" And I didn't go to sleep. I didn't have a toothbrush. I reeked, but I don't know how many miles it was, but I knew where the church was, and I didn't drive to that party. I walked to church. That was a Saturday night. I walked to church, and that was it for devil worshiping for me.
What could that have been? I mean, there's no one else. It's just you three in the room, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know what I saw, so it scared me back. Scared me. But as a believer, here's what I learned later on growing up. That entire time I was covered. That entire time I had grandmothers and family members praying for me, and they didn't even know I was doing that. But it brought me back. And plus, as a believer, I know that you can't beat God. There's not. You can be as evil as you want. You're not going to win. So, and that's my belief system, and it has been with me throughout my life, and it is still heavily with me. And I'm way more involved now because I'm semi-retired. I mean, I'm a musician, right? I played last Sunday, and I'll be playing this Sunday.
Your Christian faith has served you well through the years, making it possible to be married to the same woman for well over 2 decades and raising 2 lovely daughters in the process. You cleverly work your way around the prostitutes and the drugs. Now, Scott, I'm admittedly late to the party, and I have written and spoken some awful things. I say that I'm blessed with this disease because I don't know if I would have really found God without being humbled by it. How has religion impacted your life?
Yeah, that's very powerful. And I'm with you because the Lord will humble you. I've been humbled many, many times. I'll say, I use a kind of like a wrestling term. I go, He has laid the smackdown on me on more than one occasion. And I even hear myself comically. I mean, again, I'm kind of a comic in my sense of humor. But I remember sometimes like being a new agent in New York City and heartbroken and just lost. And I'm like, I go down, I'm going to pray. And I'm like, Lord, it's me, Scott. And then I hear on the other side, I'm sorry, who are you? Because it's been so long since I prayed. I'm like, it's me, the guy, the Scott Payne. Yeah, the last time we spoke was, and I'm like, oh, it was the last time things were going bad. And then when things got good, I kind of went the other way. So I've been smacked down many times. And yes, you are correct. I am 100% blessed to have the family that I've had. I'm blessed with everything I got. I would not have any of this and if it wasn't for me being blessed by the Lord. But I remember getting smacked down at one point, and I crashed mentally, physically. I was tired. I was worn out. I was being transparent with counselors and because I didn't know. I'm like, am I going crazy? I don't know what's happening. I'm a adrenaline junkie. I'm a workaholic. I've never felt anything like this. And I just remember praying about it. And I'm like, I don't know if I can get back to being, how do I get back to being the guy I was, or at least being as self-confident and able to do the job that I do and did while remaining humble to God? Because I definitely felt the smackdown. And then one day it hit me like a brick in the face when I was praying. And what I received back was this: you would have never been able to do the things you've done if it wasn't for the skills that I blessed you with. If it wasn't for me blessing you with the things that I have, you would not be able to do anything you've done. And that's when I said, aha, now I know how to remain humble to God, but get back to being, hopefully a better version of what I was, but to get back to where I'm at. So yeah, huge in my life. And I wouldn't change it either way. And a lot of times, iron sharpens iron, but a lot of times the Lord puts you there so you can be a witness for Him, so you can tell your story, but tell your story and then tell His story. I about gave up on this process at some point because of negative feedback from people I thought were my friends, the accusations that were being thrown at me, completely wrong. I'm like, I don't even know where you're coming from with that. But at one point I was like, you know what? I'm done. Screw this book. Screw that. I'm just going to go teach my tactical stuff. Heck, maybe I'll go try to get a job at the sheriff's office. It's not worth it. And then at my church, every week they have a card. It's an inspirational card, but they've got certain sayings we say. And just so happened that week I go, hey, it's week whatever. Let's just say it's week 52 of the year. You flip it over and you can hit the QR code and there'll be a short sermon and there'll be a song to go with and stuff. But the message was, you tell your story and you tell His story. It's okay for you to tell your story as long as you're honoring Him. And man, I was like, whoa, that's a message. And I was like, I'm back. And then I came up with the Taylor Swift thing. Let's just shake them off.
Shaking it off.
She's so right. I'm like driving down the road. It's another message.
Did you ever hear of, have you ever heard of Tulam?
Tulam. No.
TU, and his last name's LM. He's a Green Beret.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking TWO. Lamb. Yes. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was on the podcast too, and he had a similar thing when he put out his book. He got a lot of backlash from the military, which I know is not the same as law enforcement, but kind of same vein.
It's similar. No, it's similar.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
you keep the code. You don't tell anything. You know.
That's right. Yeah, it seems like the way you're describing it it's almost word for word how he described how
exactly. And look, I talked to some of those people are my friends in the former special forces community, and it's like, look, again, I just don't understand why it's so hard for somebody to just say congratulations. You know, it gets so toxic, and it's like, well, you just want to talk about it. I'm an instructor. I'm a speaker. This is where I did this for the Bureau. It's not like it should be a shock to anybody. I traveled sometimes the world teaching and speaking, and that's, but I work. I did. You know, that old saying where those who can't teach, you know, I try to break that mold because I talk about my cases. And the reason I have so many stories is because I worked.
Mm-hmm.
I worked. I mean, there's when we would finish a case, and I'm not just talking undercover. I'm talking as a case agent. You finish a 1.5 year case, we do a huge takedown. Me and my peers, maybe a day or two, but we're like, okay, what's the next case? And then I'm reaching out to the state and locals going, y'all got anything that nobody's working that you want somebody to look at? And you're trying to build the next case.
Mm-hmm.
But it just gets toxic. It's like, you know, like I remember winning an award, it's behind me, but for the Outlaws case, the team, we received the U.S. Attorney's Award, and then we received the award for the International Outlaw Motorcycle Gang Investigators Association. It's a long title, but we won the award for the Outlaws case. And I remember calling some of my friends and being like, I wasn't calling going, hey, did you see what I did? I'm like, man, check this out, because I would be happy for them. And it's not like I'm trying to say I'm better. Maybe it came across that way. And if it did, I apologize. But you get somebody saying, oh, I found out why you got the award. It's because the person that was on your case is on the board. And you're like, you know how many people I arrested on my case? It's like, dude, it's not a competition. I look at it like SWAT. Here's the thing with SWAT. I may love you like a brother, and you may be the godparent of my children. But if you're not tactically sound, I don't want you making that entry with me. And on the other hand, you could be somebody I really don't like at all. Like, I'm not going to go eat lunch with you unless I have to. I'm not inviting you over to the house. We don't have a lot in common, but you're tactically sound. I want you going on the entry with me. Mm-hmm. It's just, you can't make everybody happy. And as I said before, there are men and women that have done way more than me in the undercover world as case agents. And some of them don't get the opportunity to talk, and they would like to. Some of them just don't want to talk. And like you said, it goes into that, well, you shouldn't be saying anything. I'm like, well, look, man, my hero was Donnie Brasco, Joe Pistone. He ended up help certifying me. He's still a mentor and a friend today. And I believe his book and his story brought a lot of people to apply with the FBI, brought a lot of people to the undercover program. And there's plenty of Jack Garcia. There's other big names, Bob Whitman. There's a lot of people out there, and it's just me. Again, I know I'm not coming from a bad place. I know I'm a good person, and doggone it, people should like. I'm doing the old Saturday Night Live thing. People like you, yeah.
I love how you glorify the Lord throughout your book. You already mentioned the story about your wife pulling over while she's driving to pray at the exact moment you're in that critical situation. It's amazing that you had the support of your editor throughout. Yes, I read even the acknowledgments.
Yes. The reason, so the Rolling Stones article comes out. I don't even want to do a book, but literary agents start calling the journalist that wrote the article for Rolling Stones. And again, that's an interview. That's somebody asking me questions, me answering them, and then they write in their own voice. I thought it was a very well done article. A lot of it's comical to me because he's my buddy now, but his vocabulary is very verbose, a little different than me. But he begs me, man, would you please just talk to some of these literary agents? So I did. And then we end up doing the book. Well, now you're trying to get publishers to pick it up. And I remember interviewing with a bunch, and you're talking to different editors from different publishing companies. And they were all kind of saying the same thing, man, we really want to focus on the white supremacy. We don't really care about the other stuff. Or it was just kind of the same thing. And then there was a guy named Amr Dial who used to be with Simon & Schuster. And he got on, and I was on this same laptop. And I remember sitting in the house, and he picked up on the pitch that we write up. He said, hey, I couldn't help but notice in the pitch, you talk about your faith. He said, is that something that just came on then, or is that something that's been throughout your life? I said, it's been throughout my entire life. I said, there's so many things. And he said, I would like to see that throughout the entire story. I would like to see your faith journey through the entire book. And I just remember closing the laptop after that Zoom call ended, and I looked up and I went, now that was different. That's not what I was expecting. And that's, in my mind, I knew I wanted that guy. Well, my co-writers, in her own words, a staunch liberal from Canada and agnostic. Me and her are good friends. We were just with each other. My wife, daughter, and her friends were all in Texas this week. And I always bust her chops. I go, agnostic. I'm like, come on, just say you're atheist. And she's like, it's kind of a cop out, isn't it? She's like, it's not a cop out. I go, no, I think it's a cop out. I go, I believe, but I don't know in what. I'm like, oh, come on, just say it. But I told her, I mean, I had to walk her through a lot of biblical things writing this book. And what's funny is her last name's Shepherd. I tried to say I got a shepherd's mentality. She's like, what is that? And I go, your last name's Shepherd. How do you not know what a shepherd is? You know? I'm like, you leave the 99 to go get the one. She goes, I don't understand. I said, I'm gonna have to bring you into the Bible, Anna. And she's like, yep. I said, come on. So yeah, it's been the foundation. It's been the glue. I don't know what I would do without it. I don't know how I would have made it without it. So
You paint a hilarious scene in the book where you're undercover and get stuck in a hotel elevator with a well-dressed woman. She is scared, mostly of you, and you can't blow your cover, but you tell her that she has no idea how safe she is. Did you have any other moments like that?
there's actually two that are almost identical. Well, for me saying that to somebody, I think we only put one in the book because it would be kind of sound like you're repeating it. But I giggle because I don't know what people are going to ask. You know, I kind of go off of where you're steering me, and sometimes I forget the story. And you say it, I go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." That was the case in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where the white supremacists wanted to shoot up the synagogue, and he met me thinking that I was going to kind of supply him with the information and knowledge and the weapons to do such a thing. But I'm at Broadway at the beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, pretty resorty area. I don't know if it was like a cheerleading convention or a soccer, but it was female sport related. So there's a lot of moms. And she's a very well-dressed, I guess, middle-aged. I don't even know what middle age is anymore because I'm 54. What used to be old to me is now like, that's the new 30. What are you talking about, you know? Don't be looking at my wrinkles, you know? I'm going to tattoo my hands to hide the age spots. But I was all bikered up. My full beard down to here, you know, hair down, earrings, skull rings, flame shirts, all this stuff. And we get on the elevator. And I think we're on the basement floor, and we get on it, and literally the door shuts. It's just her and me, and it goes boom and shuts down. And I can hear the workers on the other side. And I'm like, hey, I'm knocking on the door. So I call, there's only like 3 floors or 4 floors in this Hampton Inn. I call the front desk, and I'm like, I hit the button in the phone, and the front desk answers, and I go, we're stuck on the elevator. And they're like, yeah, they're doing some maintenance. I said, do you think it would have been a good idea to make sure nobody's on the elevator before you? I mean, it's not like this is Manhattan and there's 90 floors in this daggone place. I'm like, and they're like, well, they're trying. It's probably going to be 30 minutes. Who knows? I will say it was nice because there was glass behind us, kind of like the Embassy Suites deal where you could see out. It helps with the claustrophobia. But I see this woman just staring forward, won't even look at me. And then I start remembering what a piece of trash I look like compared to her. And I said, well, I can't really break roll right now because we're going to be bringing said bad guy here to talk about things or meeting whoever at the hotel. But I turned to her and I said, ma'am, something like this. I said, ma'am, I know I look like a piece of trash, but you have no idea how safe you are right now. And she was like, she was trying to downplay. She was like, oh, no. And I'm like, oh, yeah. You hadn't even looked at me. I mean, she's like, do not break eye contact. Do not, and I ended up asking when they finally let us out about it, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour later, I told the front desk, I told her, I said, come with me. I'm like, well, what are you going to do for us that were stuck on the elevator? She goes, well, what do you want me to do? And I go, well, do you got anything for like restaurants or any free nights or anything? I mean, we just spent an hour. We've got traumatic, I got PTSD from being stuck on. So she gave us a choice of like places to go eat and gave us like a certificate. But yeah, and I've had that happen on another case where legit in that case, in the case I'm talking about now, one of the main things I did as a purported criminal is I was selling stolen goods. And clearly she was coming because her friends and her family were pressuring her. She was scared to death. She was just trying to get a good deal on some cigarettes. So she shows up at my undercover house and I open the door and she walks in and I can see she's shaking, she's trembling. And she's like, I'm like, are you all right? She's like, I'm just not used to this. I don't even know. And I said, hey, look at me. I said the same thing to her. I said, I want you to look in my eyes and I want you to receive what I'm sending. You have no idea how safe you are right now. And then when that case ended, she did get picked up because she did pick up some stolen goods from me. But I told her when I came out and I said, hey, I'm Special Agent Scott Payne. I'm actually an FBI agent and I've been undercover for the last year and a half. She was there and I said, so you remember when you were at the house and I told you have no idea how safe you are? And she was like, yes, I do. And I said, you see what I mean? I said, you don't have to worry about nothing. And I said, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you with this. And I think she did well because she was clean as a whistle. She just did that. I mean, it's not like for the haters out there to go, you're just putting people in jail for doing, I mean, what are you going to do? I'm like, look, no, that's not how I worked anyway. She's in the wrong place at the wrong time, trusted me, and let's get this thing taken care of.
You chronicle your excellent work with motorcycle gangs, and you even get in on the opioid crisis, exposing, among other things, some dirty cops. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes. That was a case here in Tennessee. And the one I just talked about where the girl was picking up stolen goods, that's this case. It wasn't necessarily a biker gang case. It was supposed to be public corruption is the reason it got opened, because there was a ton of reporting on certain cops being dirty. And a lot of these cases, they're different, but you have to look real. Sometimes it takes a while to set everything up. You're going into a rural area, and you have to establish yourself, and people get to know you and trust you. But in that case, I remember when I was going in for the first time, I'm like, I'm not going to be a biker. I'm not going to be a biker. I'm not going to be a biker. I'm going to be something different because I'm not going to get pigeonholed into just being a biker. And I go up, and one of the first targets I meet was a very well-connected guy. And I look, and he's got a Harley Davidson hat on. He's got a Harley Davidson shirt on. He's got a chain wallet with riding boots. And we're walking down this creek, this kind of dirt gravel road next to beautiful property, beautiful creek. We're out in God's country. And he looks at me. We're talking for a bit, and he looks over and he goes, "Do you ride?" And I went, "Yep, I do," because I'm like, I guess I'm going to be a biker again. But that case is kind of when that was at the cusp and the beginning of the huge opioid issue. And the mecca at that point was Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We identified carloads of people going down twice a week to Fort Lauderdale to pill mills, pain clinics, because at that point in time, they didn't keep track of how many opioids were being prescribed in the state of Florida, who was prescribing them, and that, I mean, a boatload of the people coming to get them were from Tennessee and Kentucky. That should be a red flag right there. But at that point in time, you could go down to Broward County. So maybe not just only Fort Lauderdale, but Broward County. You could go down to Broward County. You could go into a doctor's office, pay your $350 cash, have some fake MRI. I mean, they had an MRI machine in the back of a semi-trailer behind a strip club. So you could be getting dances, and when your number came up, you could go out back and get an MRI. Not sure how good it was, but as long as you had something to show. So you pay your $350 cash. They don't even check you. They give you a prescription, and under the same roof is the pharmacy. So you just fill your script, and then they would leave that doctor and go to the next doctor. So they do what they call doctor shopping to get a bunch of pills and then come back to Tennessee and sell and trade them for other things. The way it works is if I'm the sponsor and I'm the one running everybody, I recruit you guys and several others. And if you are a user, then I pay for your travel, I pay for your doctor's office visit, and I pay for the script. And you keep half if you're a user, and the other half comes to me. Some people just did it for money, and then I just buy them outright, and then I'm able to sell those at a much higher dollar value on the street. And that's when I started being clued into what the opioid epidemic was, what pill sick was. I got to see firsthand withdrawals from I'm talking high level opioid. I'm talking, this is when the Oxy 80s were big. So that's 80 milligrams of an Oxy, and they would just crush them and snort them. And I infiltrated a group of people. I think I go into great detail in the book, but the guy was probably doing like 8 Oxy 80s a day and 15 Roxy 30s. I mean, it's a wonder you're not dead. Or maybe they were, and it was the pills keeping them alive. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just pickled.
Then you get to the mission that's in the title, The Nazis, and you go out of your way to persuade the readers that you are convinced that they are really, really dangerous, and they're adding members by the day. Could you explain?
Yes. And correct me if I've already said this part. I apologize because I've been doing a lot of press. But did I explain what an accelerationist is already?
Just that they want to see things fail faster.
Yes. Okay. So good. So I get into the base, which is a neo-Nazi group, an accelerationist neo-Nazi group. And I have to ingratiate and gain trust, but I'm also trying to gather evidence. And I could have been in there for 6 months and found out they weren't doing anything, and it's time for me to go. And then the case agents can figure out if they want to approach those people or not, or however they want to work it. But with the base, I get in there, and one of the big things that happened is there was a Canadian member, base member in Canada, and he was putting up flyers that Savior Race joined the base, and somebody acknowledges, and that's that journalist, and he infiltrates. So now the Canadian absconds illegally in the United States, and we're looking for him. The FBI, and we end up finding him at my sales in Rome, Georgia, at the farm. So there's one thing right there. You got a guy who had military training in Canada, and he now believes he's a ghost because he's lost his job, his family, his guns. He's no longer in there. I forget what it's called in Canada, but it's kind of like a National Guard here, kind of like Army. And he's no longer in that. So he thinks he's a ghost. And I'm listening to him tell stories of how he can set up maybe like a safe house for other members who have been doxxed, and they'll all be ghosts, and they can just start killing lefties and anybody who's not fascist. So if you're anti-fascist, if you, or let me say it the way he said it. If you are not fascist, then you're automatically anti-fascist. And when the boogaloo hits, that's a penalty of death. And he talked about even having to put a bullet in the back of his own father's skull. Sometimes he'd cry when he said it, but he's like, I may have to kill my own father. And that's the kind of stuff I'm seeing. And I'm also seeing a 19-year-old kid lead firearms and tactical training, and it wasn't bad. Not the best, but it was not bad, especially to the point to where I'm thinking, man, if these guys break bad, they could get the drop on a lot of innocent people before the threat is eliminated. But you're seeing all this hate. I'm having to hang with these people for days, hours. We did pagan rituals. Of course, they twist it to their own to white supremacist ideology. We did sacrifices, drank goat's blood, but then I started gaining more trust, and we uncovered numerous murder plots that they were planning. Specifically, the Georgia cell was looking at a married couple who they believe was a married couple and members of Antifa. And we scouted that house. It was a very detailed plan of how we were going to prepare to do this killing, that we would meet at a campsite, leave all of our electronics there, go to a pay-by-the-hour place, scrub all the dead skin off of our bodies, even put Vaseline on eyebrows and facial hair so it doesn't fall to leave any DNA, duct tape your gloves to your shirt, your pants to your boots. They got purchased catch bags, brass catchers you attach to your machine gun. So if you do have to shoot, when the brass ejects, the bag catches it. In other words, not leaving any kind of evidence for law enforcement. Had a silencer made for a pistol. We're going to go in and murder the entire. We knew the belief was the married couple was there, but when it was asked, "Hey, are there any kids there?" One member says, "Hey, I don't have a problem killing commie kids. I've been wanting to do this for 2 years, you know." And then the idea was we were going to breach into the house, murder everything there, and then torch it to the ground. And then meanwhile, there's other members up near Baltimore and Maryland area, Baltimore area, and Delaware. They were looking at a guns rights rally Second Amendment rally that was going to be going on in Virginia at the time. And at that time, it wasn't Youngkin who was the governor. The governor, I can't remember the name, but they were more liberal, and they wanted to really crack down on guns. So the idea was, what if there are a bunch of militia type Second Amendment, pro Second Amendment gun toters there, law enforcement's there, lefty protesters are there, and we just pop a few shots from far away with sniper rifles. And then that way nobody knows where the shooting's coming from. Maybe everybody starts shooting everybody. And again, it's kind of a set off to a collapse of society, even if it's just in that area, not worldwide, not nationwide, just in that area. And again, I say to people a lot, in America, we have a constitution. You have First Amendment freedom of speech. So you can go out here and spew all kinds of hate. You can burn American flags. But that's covered under First Amendment. But if you start doing acts of violence or things that are criminal to accomplish those goals, well, now we got issues. But we have to stay vigilant. And how do you keep looking in that sea of thousands of posts of white supremacy stuff and figure out who's going to be the next Christ church shooter or Tree of Life shooter and stop them before it happens? And that's what we uncovered. We were able to get the evidence we needed, that the United States Attorney's Office and the state prosecutors felt comfortable with. And we arrested everybody, and everybody pled guilty.
So when you do that, do you take down that whole cell in Rome, Georgia, or does it expand other cells?
The way it's a case-by-case basis. The way this one went down is on a Wednesday. It all started on Wednesday. We started the arrest with me picking up the militant Buddhist, real name Luke Lane, picking him up because he's on a 100-acre farm. So clearly safer for us to get him off of his property where he doesn't have an arsenal and have SWAT team take us down. So he's not armed. Again, to take him down without incident is our goal every time, right? We don't want innocent bystanders getting hurt. We don't want bullets shot. We don't want that stuff. And so it started with that. We did a ruse. I picked him up, said, hey, we're going to lunch. I feigned that something was going wrong with my truck. I pull over. I get out to check said problem. And then while he's distracted, SWAT team comes over the hill and hits the car while I'm jumping in another truck and driving off. Now, we're keeping that real quiet because the rest of the Rome, Georgia cell, were being arrested. The guy that we talked about that bought the brass bags and said he could kill commie kids. He was an IT computer guy with a normal job. So they arrest him when he gets off of work. They arrest another guy at his house, but we keep that all quiet because Thursday morning in the early morning hours, FBI Washington field office SWAT team and FBI Baltimore SWAT team are going to be hitting the other folks and arrest them. We have stragglers after that we pick up that tagged synagogues and spray painted stuff and animal cruelty stuff. But that was the big ones right off the bat. And of course, the illegal entry Canadian was in with that group, so he gets arrested. And now by Friday, everything's kind of coming out. Now you're starting to see, I'm in the main chat, and you're starting to see all this. What the hell is this? I mean, it says there's a federal undercover agent in here, and I'm just being quiet. They're like, has anybody heard from this person? Is anybody? Oh my goodness, it looks like this person's been arrested, and they're reaching out to me. Pale Horse, are you there? I'm not saying nothing. I'm just going ghost. And somewhere around 5-ish on a Friday, so it started Wednesday around lunch. Somewhere around Friday at 5. They're all asking questions. How could somebody infiltrate us? Who could be a Fed in here? And then Roman Wolf, who was the leader, also his real name is Ronaldo Nazaro. He went by Norman Spears and Roman Wolf. And he comes on and he starts saying, I'm not sure if we would have known he was a Fed. He was good. He paid some compliments. And then I'm like, okay, he knows it's me because he's gone back and probably looked at the recording or when I came in and when that vetting call took place and stuff. And then it said, I was reading it. I go, okay, he knows it's me. And then I got the ping that said, Roman Wolf has removed you from the base chat, and I screenshotted that. I sent it to all the case teams, headquarters, and put, and ... I'm done. And that was it. I'm now
when
out.
That's happening, when you spend that much time infiltrating and building the trust, is the climax of it, like when they're doing the arrests, is it almost like a sense of relief where you're like, okay, I'm finally out of it?
Again, case by case basis, you kind of do get desensitized for that kind of euphoric feeling for every arrest, because we do so many. Or at least I've been around groups that did so many. But yeah, it felt good because that was a fast-paced, crazy 7 months. And a lot of people involved, a lot of case teams, a lot of people from the FBI involved and state and local. And yeah, it was good to say, now I can put this phone down. I don't have to do it. And now I can start my relaxation, my decompression. And I learned around that time, so does my family. All those years, everything we talked about, everything we learned in our relationship. And I'm like, holy crap. She's decompressing with me, not from what I experienced, but from being married to me during this last 7 months. So she has to decompress, and it's wild. It's really wild. But yeah, that was a very good feeling because there was a lot of people involved with that, and we all believed in what we were doing, and I think we did some great things. We actually got the FBI Director's Award for the case.
Is that you've done a lot of amazing things, but is that your proudest moment, or is that, I guess I'll say one of your proudest moments? Is probably a lot of them professionally. Was that like your best case or biggest, one of your
It's huge. It's huge. It's up there. But one of the most satisfying undercovers I ever did was the quickest. It was just 2 meets, and it was a pedophile that had molested a kid. He got locked up for it, and he solicited somebody because he knew he wasn't going to do good in prison, and he solicited somebody to find a killer to go kill the kid before he went to trial. and I got the job for that. That was one of the quickest undercovers I ever did, but it was one of the most satisfying because I found out that guy had walked on like 3 or 4 previous molestation cases. And once he found out I was an undercover, he pled guilty to molesting the kid and pled guilty to hiring me to kill him. And he got 30 years total.
Did he walk on the other ones because kids died? Like, had he done it before successfully?
To my knowledge, and I think I would remember that. It's not that they were
Yeah.
killed; it's just that he got those. Sometimes those cases are hard because it may be a kid from a broken home, and it's a kid on the stand versus an adult, and usually it's well after the fact of when the actual incident happened. At least that was my experience then.
Sure.
But yeah, for whatever reason, he walked, and we got him that time. So that was satisfying. Get him off the streets.
They also are hiding in plain sight, as I said in the open. In the book, you talk about seeing a teacher, a police chief, and plenty of other normal-looking people. Some of these people also happen to have military experience. Your point is that they could be your neighbor?
Yes, I say this a lot when I teach and speak, and it kind of goes something like this. If I showed you a picture, well, let me say this first. What does a terrorist look like? What does a white supremacist look like? I mean, we're not all going to be weird. I'm a white supremacist. I infiltrated white supremacy. Goodness gracious. I've made a conscious decision to not hang out with white supremacists since I retired. But you don't have to necessarily have hoods and stuff like that on. It's the same thing as I look at it as active shooter stuff too, because I am an instructor with Alert, which is the national standard for training law enforcement on how to respond to active shooter events. But if I showed you a picture of the kids from Columbine before Columbine High School massacre happened, what would you have said? If I showed you a picture of the kid from Charleston, South Carolina, before he shot the black people at the church, what would you have said? What if I showed you a picture of the kid from Aurora who shot up the theater? You'd probably be like, no way. Dead is dead. I mean, it's so hiding in plain sight. I mean, you just got to, I try not to live my life in fear. That is not how my mind works. So I don't necessarily walk around on eggshells, scared of everything, but I don't walk around blind either. I stay aware, and I have certain things in place if, Lord forbid, something goes wrong. But you just got to be aware is all. You don't have to be like, maybe you're a family member or maybe you can't understand that. But I say a lot of times, look, you just need to understand that there's evil people on this planet that want to do evil things to good people. And it's been that way pretty much since the beginning of time. And we just need to kind of be aware of that. You may not be able to deal with it mentally. You may see a story that may be so common to anybody from my line of work, but it is horrific because you've never seen anything like that and you don't know how to deal with it. That's cool. I get that. But just know that you do need shepherds out there. You do need sheepdogs. You do need livestock guardian dogs out there protecting you from the wolves.
Yeah. It's scary to think that it's not so obvious.
Well, I mean, yeah, like an active shooter, same thing. What does an active shooter look like? I don't know. Pick something. Are they all going to walk in wearing a hoodie, covered up so you can't see them, sending off all kinds of red flags? No.
What kind of training did you see them do, and is it any good?
Well, some of them are pretty cheesy. It's like, remember all the Al Qaeda stuff? Some of those videos they would show them training in the desert. I'm like, woof. If that's their tactics, I think we're going to be all right. Y'all keep training that way. If you're an enemy, some of it was good. It was good. I mean, again, in the base, we're doing hand-to-hand combat training, how to build a bunker in the woods training, living off the land training, lots of gunfire tactics, shooting faster, accurate, some clearing techniques, and it's all that survival stuff. I mean, they had a folder. They labeled it. Luke labeled it Rahawa 14, but I think it was 14. Rahawa is racial holy war. And it was if you opened up that folder, which he gave to me, I mean, if you opened up that folder, it might be some outdated field manuals, but it's Marines, Army, Navy, And then there's other literature in there, like how to build a gun out of a plastic gun, a wooden gun, how to make a bang stick, how to detect surveillance being done on you, how to interrogate, all kinds of stuff like that, how to make a bomb. And what I like to say to a lot of people is, look, hate begets hate. If the far left is doing hate, it's going to make the far right mad. Far right's going to want to retaliate, and it goes back and forth. We have to bring people towards the middle. We got to, or it's just going to. I mean, it's going to be some major disaster.
I was going to ask of the numbers, like I'm sure, I don't know what you're allowed to share or not allowed to share, but from when you started to when you retired, is the percentage of people that are radicalized, whether it's left, right, or anything, is that number going up? Is it going down? It seems like it's going up, but I don't know if that's just because media coverage and social media, or is it growing with the divisiveness of the country?
I don't. Yes, D. All of the above. Of course, when I started, it wasn't like this. But again, people are being radicalized online, as you called it, the divisiveness. The cancel culture. You can't disagree with me, because if you disagree with me, either you're racist, sexist, or I want to cancel you, or all three. That's got to stop, because it's not going to work. And the pendulum is already starting to swing back, from what I can see. But they're no different than gangs and cults. They're going to try to recruit, and they're going to try to. Generally, you'll see stuff like a kid from a broken home but wants to belong. Well, you gotta work for the club. You bleed in, you bleed out. We beat you in, but if you it's all that stuff. But what you find a lot of times is it's this BS. Hey, you're one of us. You're a brother. You did through all this stuff, brother. If you take a lick for the club, and you take a stint in jail for the club, and you don't rat anybody out, listen, we're going to put money on your books. We're going to take care of your wife and kids while you're in jail. And guess what happens? Nothing. None of that happens. And they get resentful and hateful, and they realize it's BS. And then maybe they come talk to us.
And then this is probably a dumb question, but when you're doing the training and they're showing you this training that's, like like the Taliban videos from the Middle East, when you're doing this training that's just like so beneath or let's just say using guns, when they're teaching you firearms, like more than all of these people combined probably in your pinky, do you act like you don't know to make it, or do you act like an expert to impress them?
I've done several cases where we go out and maybe shoot with people. Sometimes it's very scary, because I'm like, I don't know how these people handle themselves with a weapon. So I'm like standing in the back, like behind them,
Yeah.
I don't want to get shot accidentally or purposefully, really. But no, I don't go in there acting like an expert, because you got to look at the liability and things we're worried about just from a legal standpoint at the FBI. I mean, if somebody's like a mediocre shooter and they're planning to do nefarious things, and I go in and make them a way better shooter, that's not good. That's not good.
I just didn't know if it was, I didn't think like training them to be better in that sense. I meant if you show up and they're like, oh, we're not so sure about this Scott guy,
yeah, okay.
But then you're showing them, you know how to break down a gun or assemble it, whatever it would be.
That depends on the case and what the goal is. But yeah, that I could see doing that. But training people up, no. What I did with the base is, as I act like, look, I'm a country guy. I grew up shooting. I know a little bit, but I let them correct me. And then once they say it, like if you say, hey, I'm going to need you to, let's just use a term like slice the pie, or I need you to check the hard corner. I'm like, what'd you call that again? Slicing the pie. Okay. All right. So when I'm slicing, now I can start talking, because they taught me. That's what I did there. But I see what you're saying. Yeah. If I was going in, say it's a militia thing, and we're trying to find out, which again, militias are not illegal. It's part of the Constitution, but there are militias out there that have some bad ideas and anti-government and want to throw the government over, kind of thing. But maybe I do go in there. But training them, no. But yeah, I see what you're saying. And yes, if you need,
please don't train them.
Yeah, if that's your, I know, right? Or train them badly. That's what. First thing you need to do is drop all your bullets, right? That way you have none, and then we're going to reload everything. Buy everybody some time. But yeah, you may do that just to give yourself some bona fides and credibility.
You have a harrowing conclusion where you foil a murder plot against a black couple in Atlanta. How long did those guys go away for?
So there's two cases there. There's the black couple was there was a bomb. The guy wanted me to give him a bomb in South Carolina to blow up them. The couple in Atlanta, well, outside of Atlanta, it was near Rome, Georgia, but I don't remember the years. I want to say that the Georgia crew was getting somewhere around like 8 or more years for that. But one of them, Helter Skelter, has picked up a lot more time because within the first couple of months he was in jail, he and like 7 other guys tortured and sodomized some guy for like 12 hours in prison to, I guess, be initiated into the Ghostface Gangsters, which is another kind of, like a hybrid white supremacy group. And he shows up to court with a tattoo that says Paleface on his forehead, and he's got a bunch more years. So I guess he was in it to win it.
Yeah, I just pulled it up here. It says sentenced to 20 years in prison for his role in the conspiracy to murder.
I know that you will enjoy this part of the podcast. Could you please tell us about your wife and your girls? I invite you to boast.
They're awesome. Of course, I don't want to give away too much because I don't want anybody trying to target me to target them. But they've been my foundation. I say it. I usually say it like this: I consider myself the glue of the family, keeps everybody together. But the foundation's always been my wife, and I'm sometimes now in semi-retirement, people will call up and they'll go, "So what are you doing in retirement?" I go, "Well, I'm trying to pay my wife back for all the BS I put her through in the last 28 years. I was trying to be a better husband." And we're doing good. We're doing good. I mean, marriages work. It's not always easy, but I love my family. They are so supportive. They are all awesome, and I'm very proud of my daughters, and I love my wife.
Now on to our final word segment, where we ask our guests a few rapid fire questions. What was the happiest moment in your life?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I'm gonna tell you what, getting married to my wife, and then the birth of my children. But really, when I'm really the happiest is when I see them, any of them, super excited with joy and happy and them succeeding. That always just it melts me when I see them happy. Even at a little age, when like my youngest daughter, I let her beat me in thumb wrestling, I'm like, oh, and I'll beat her. And then I'm like, oh, and I let her beat me. And I go, oh, and she's like, yes. And I'm like, yeah, you beat me.
What is the biggest adversity you've faced?
I don't know. Cause I'm thinking when I'm hearing adversity, I'm thinking, look, I came out of college with a 3.8 average my last 2 years on the dean's list playing NCAA football. And I couldn't get a job because they said they would love to have me, but I was white and I was a man and they weren't hiring me. I don't know if that's kind of adversity because that seems kind of bad to compare that, 1 year of not being able to get a job, to somebody who's been oppressed for a very long time, for who they are. But, I mean, there's been adversity because I'm an idiot. I mean, I attract attention. I'm a loud and boisterous guy, and sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. I've had supervisors that tried to ding me, and luckily I'm very good at articulation and documenting, and it turned out in my favor. But I guess my mind doesn't really work like that. I don't dwell on that stuff. If I beat it and I've moved forward, or I've learned from it and I take from it, my mind doesn't really like dwell on, man, that was so hard, I had to overcome it.
What are you most excited about?
Well, everything's riding on this book and things after. I'm excited about opportunities, to tell my story, but to tell his story, and my faith, and just spending, just living life. If something comes of it like a TV series, awesome. I can't wait. I'd love it. It'd be awesome. If I get a part in it, that's fine. Like I told people, my buddies, there's been movies, I've been on the set, I've done cameos, and And it's like, look, I told him, I said, look, if you tell me I can't act, you're not going to hurt my feelings. But if you tell me I don't know how to clear a room, I'm probably going to call you on that one.
The next one, what advice would you give your high school self?
Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. I'm not a guy that looks back on life and regrets a whole lot. There's probably two things. There's really three, but I'm not going to say the third one on here. But it's because it's an FBI thing and they might get mad. But I would have started wrestling my freshman year in high school and wrestled all 4 years if I could go back and do that ever again. And I would have attended and tried to get certified in the FBI sniper school. I turned it down probably 7 or 8 times because it's a 2-week school. And every time it was offered to me, I had first right of refusal because of my seniority on the SWAT team, but I never could do it because I was always doing undercover. I couldn't afford being away for 2 more weeks. But yeah, my high school self, hang in there, because even in high school, I had the same kind of mentality. I remember I used to say, man, if life is an ocean, I'm gonna catch every damn wave I can. That's what I used to say. And so far I've not done too bad on it.
You caught a lot of waves.
I caught a lot of waves. I've also been tumbled on the reef a few times.
The next one. This is a great opportunity to plug it here. But what book recommendations do you have for us or the listeners?
Oh, well, I hear there's this awesome book. Shameless plug. Pale Horse is my book. Codename Pale Horse. Other books that are out there, it's bad to say, but I'm not a huge reader, man. I've got some great friends out there. I mean, the books have been around. There's Giovanni's Ring is a buddy of mine that did Undercover into like the real life Sopranos. I've got, of course, Joe Pistone, Donnie Brasco, Jack Garcia, The Making of Jack Falcone, Priceless by Bob Whitman. There's all kinds of things like that.
The name of our podcast is Nothing Left Unsaid. Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I really appreciate it because you guys, again, as I say, I go on and I don't know what's going to be asked of me. I'm just waiting to see what you throw at me and then I'll just answer it and be transparent and tell it. But you have asked me some questions that have not been asked of me until this time. So nothing left unsaid, man. Just stop hating, do more loving. I know it sounds cliche, but it's okay for you to like something I don't. It's okay for me to like something you don't. We can still get along. I like eating. Do you like eating? Okay, well, we can start there. We'll just break it down. And at the end of the day, if I look at situations, political, not political, whatever, there's so much hate being spewed. There's so much being skewed from whichever broadcasting system and news. Because I get skewing things to your viewership and to your demographic. But when you're making up stuff or you're failing to report stuff that's really happening, that's kind of messed up because you're affecting people's lives. But if you break things down and look at it as good versus evil, because for the most part, even if we're older and we've been desensitized, if you dig deep, for the most people know the difference between good and evil. There are those who don't, and there have terms for those people. But for the most part, you can tell. And just start doing more good, man.
And then before we let you go, the last question I always ask people is, and it's got us down some interesting rabbit holes. Do you have any recommendations for us? A couple of people that you know personally that you think we should try to get on the podcast?
Yeah. Let me think off the top of my head. I got a buddy, Mike Colazzo. He was actually one of the 2 cops that shot I don't say shot. That sounds bad. They stopped the killing. They eliminated the threat of the Covenant school shooter in Nashville. He's a great guy. Colazzo's been going around doing a bunch of stuff. Giovanni is again friend of mine. He was a task force officer in the FBI. He got certified at the Undercover school at the federal level and did some phenomenal work. And him and my buddy Sean goes by Dutch. So Giovanni and Dutch do some things for the Mafia Museum. And Jack Garcia. And I mean, I don't know if Joe will do anything, but of course, Joe Pistone.
Scott Payne, it's been a pleasure and an honor to talk with you. You're a genuine hero. And on behalf of everyone listening, I do thank you for your service. The name of the book is Codename Pale Horse. Everyone should check it out. You'll love it.
Thank you very much. It's an honor. Yeah, thank you very much.
Is there something else, Scott, that you wanted to plug? We could.
I was just going to say there's two buddies of mine that did a movie. It's a documentary called Hot Shots. Gabe and Phil Donlin. Gabe Mann and Phil Donlin. Gabe was he does a lot of photography and some documentary stuff. He was a California guy. He traveled with the Hot Shots in the wildfire seasons for 6 years. And with the recent wildfires that happened in California, it's been a pretty, pardon the pun, hot topic. But they did some good work. I've learned a lot about the Hot Shots and the failures and what they have to do, and they're really good dudes too.
Yeah, after this, I'm definitely going to follow up with you about getting their contact info.
Yeah,
Scott, thanks so much for coming on. It was awesome. I love the stories from getting stripped in the basement to to taking down to terrorist groups. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, man. God bless you.
Today's episode is brought to you by the ALS Investment Fund, a specialized biotech venture capital investment firm focused on neurodegenerative diseases, particularly ALS. They manage a large and diversified worldwide portfolio of ALS-related companies, collaborating with a global network of scientists, clinicians, foundations, and patient advocates to accelerate therapeutic development, investing for a world without ALS. Discover more about their mission and impact at alsinvestmentfund.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, consider supporting the podcast for free by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends. Your support means the world to us. This episode of Nothing Left Unsaid is brought to you by 11 Labs. Their groundbreaking technology makes a huge difference, and we're grateful for their support. To learn more, visit 11labs.io. A substantial portion of our sponsorship proceeds go to tackleals.com, funding cutting-edge ALS research. If you'd like to join the fight and contribute, visit tackleals.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Nothing Left Unsaid.